Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and expert in Warner Bros. Discovery. This will be my 100th video on Warner Bros. Discovery over the last 3 months. Gunnar Wiedenfels has caused a panic throughout Hollywood because he's willing to make any cuts necessary. Puck is calling him the Hollywood villain of the year. Because it's not just about the changes at Warner Bros. Discovery, the changes regarding the cutbacks, the cancellations of things in development. These are examples that have now been set. So you could say as an actor or a producer or investor or partner in a Hollywood project that you're not going to do business with Warner Bros. Discovery, and that's fine. But this still affects the rest of the entire industry. And wait till you see the cost cutting. Wait till you see the layoffs. Wait till you see the damage at Disney coming in January and then to follow from January as they try to fix the business that they have made. Disney, of course, in a major problem because streaming didn't work out for them the way they thought they would. They spent an extra $8 to $10 billion in their streaming division. They lost $4 billion last year, but it was really a lot more than that. Let's get into this article. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys. The channel's growing. The Hollywood villain of the year is Gunnar Wiedenfels. David Zaslav's Hatchet Man became the avatar of Hollywood's perilousness in 2022 and managed to turn Warner Brothers and HBO, two of the industry's premier brands, into objects of scorn and suspicion in the creative community. They don't like having things shaken up or having the studio hold them to their contracts. Let's call 2022 the year of the write-off, or maybe the year that most entertainment people would like to write off. Or if we're really being honest, it was the year that Hollywood itself was written off, and not like when a TV star bails on a hit because he thinks he's a movie star. We don't need to rehash the awfulness of 2022 in this space. Suffice to say, the roaring 2010s finally ended. Media companies lost a combined $500 billion in value per the Financial Times. So that's their stock value, all media companies combined. Layoffs and cutbacks ensued. Everyone freaked out, and a pall of anxiety and confusion took hold. A perfect storm of bad news, the analyst Michael Nathanson said. I've been covering this sector a long time, and I've never seen such a bad collection of data points before. Against that backdrop, Netflix all of a sudden discovered that advertising was cool and fun, and Disney panic swapped its Bobs. Bob Iger in for Bob Chapek. But I think we can all agree that no company represented the industry's perilous state more than Warner Bros. Discovery, a mashed-together content Frankenstein born of AT&T desperation and investor John Malone's fear that Discovery wasn't big enough to transition from cable into streaming. John Malone recently, though, said in an interview it was really David Zaslav going to John Malone saying, hey, I don't think we're big enough to make this work as a streaming and content business. And then John Malone saying, hey, what do you need? Let's do this. Launched in just April of 2022, it's only been 8 months since the launch of Warner Bros. Discovery, and saddled with more than $50 billion in debt, its CEO David Zaslav may have moved into Robert Evans' house, a multimillionaire famous movie producer, and sat behind Jack Warner's desk of Warner Brothers, one of the original founders. But he arrived in Burbank with a mandate to cut $3 billion and cut fast. To Zaslav's credit, he was never coy about what he was there to do. Zaslav, very, very upfront, always telling people what he's trying to do, why he's trying to do it, and trying to inspire people, heads of divisions, to do those same things. Layoffs, yes, thousands of them in a slow-moving mass execution. Synergies and redundancies everywhere. Reduced content spending. Almost certainly, that was all expected. But there was an added element of indignity that few in Hollywood saw coming. The abrupt scrapping of films and shows that had already been green-lit, some of them even after they were finished. And nobody at Warner Bros. Discovery better personified that controversial strategy than Gunnar Wiedenfels, the company's genial, meaning friendly, chief financial officer, whose moves managed to turn Warner Bros. And HBO, two of the industry's premier brands, into objects of scorn and suspicion. This isn't necessarily a knock on Wiedenfels. Calling the machete-wielding CFO of an over-leveraged company a villain for Hollywood people is somewhat akin to saying he's doing his job. Arguably, Zaslav is more villainous here given he's Gunnar's boss, or John Stankey and Jason Kilar, the AT&T brain trust whose decisions created many of the problems that are necessitating all these cuts, or John Malone, whose willingness to give up his controlling interest in Discovery, he enabled the Warner Brothers Discovery transaction in the first place, Or maybe this is all just, as Zaslav has said, the tough love Warner Brothers needed for long-term health. And it is. The mess that they're cleaning up is probably equal to the mess that Disney needs to clean up. But like it or not, Gunnar has become the face of the cuts and content shrinkage both at his company and industry-wide. That's the key thing here. That's the key thing about the panic. It's panic throughout Hollywood because now that Warner Brothers is doing it, everyone else is going to start doing it. And it's not just me saying that. A lot of industry people are saying that. And that scares them because they realize they don't have the sway and the control they had, and they have to have more accountability towards projects being profitable. This will affect woke content. It's affected it already at Warner Brothers. It's going to affect it in other places. It's not going to affect it to the extent that it probably has at Warner Brothers Discovery, because like the people are so ideological at Disney, they don't even understand that they're ideological anymore. But there will definitely be at least less woke content as a result, which is good for everybody. So Gunnar Wiedenfels is public enemy number one to creative people and a potential hero to those watching the incredibly troubled bottom line. Gunnar is probably one of the best CFOs that I've seen in my career. The analyst Jessica Reif-Elric said in September, he's very detail-oriented, he does the work and takes the time to go over the detail. But this is more aggressive than anyone has ever seen before and could have reputational consequences for Warner Bros. Discovery and its brands that could linger beyond its annual spreadsheets. That's been discussed. But even the directors who were fired off of the Batgirl film said they'd work for Warner Brothers again. Of course they would. People still want the check. It's just a huge upheaval because Zaslav and Wiedenfels basically came in, and their team, but really those two guys came into Hollywood and said, why are you doing business this way? We're not going to do business this way. And then created a new standard, which is incredible, and that's why Hollywood's freaking out. They also just feel badly in an industry where the perception of badness can be the difference between landing the next big hit or seeing it go to a rival. The headlines fly every couple days, so everyone's become numb to it already. Wiedenfels executed an $825 million write-down in content during his first quarter, including a $496 million impairment on content. That means stuff that was already made or in production, like the shows at the Turner networks that were just shooting one day and then not shooting the next. Even the SAG Awards got kicked to the curb. There's nothing that's sacred at Warner Bros. Discovery except valuable brands, which is why I still have faith, even though he seems quite strange, James Gunn is going to do well with the DC properties. But we don't know. His lack of communication, it really is very strange. Having to watch to see like what actor is going to tweet next that they're not involved with DC Studios anymore. We have to wait, and is Gal Gadot booted from Wonder Woman or not? No, she's not. I can promise you she's not booted. How do I know? Because while she tweeted that she appreciates the opportunity to work on Wonder Woman, it's still up in the air. She just doesn't know. If she knew, she'd be tweeting about it. That's how we find out what's going on at DC Studios, at least so far. We don't get updates from James Gunn unless he's retweeting an actor making an announcement. That is very strange. Maybe there are reasons for it, but it's very strange. And the $825 million cut, that was before the Batgirl cut, whereas part of $2 billion worth of third quarter cuts, Warner's killed a nearly finished DC film for a $90 million write-off. To put that film on HBO Max made no business sense. They weren't going to get a return on their investment for doing it, and they could have permanently damaged the DC brand. So yeah, it took some courage to go and say, you know what, look, sorry, we're canceling this film. The Scoop sequel was also killed. And of course, there's a long history of busted TV pilots, and many insiders dismissed the outrage as pearl-clutching over creative misfires. But these were nearly finished studio films, scrapped for strategic rather than creative reasons, which felt like a total repudiation of the compact between creators and studios. And this is where it's changed. We may screw you before, during, and after you make this art for us. It's always been, but you will be allowed to make the art. That's fine. But just the same way that talent doesn't go above and beyond for the company is not going to go above and beyond for the talent and risk the brand of DC. Can you imagine the first DC film that they put out is Batgirl, and Black Adam didn't work out for them so well? So if they'd spent, another $100 million or $150 million marketing Batgirl, that was going to work out well for them. They would have lost the entire, whatever momentum they had, and would have taken 2 or 3 years to recover from that. They can't afford that. Maybe the damage has been minimal if you ask Mike DeLuca or Pam Abity or Channing Dungey, all Warner Bros. Executives, or Casey Bloys at HBO, or even Chris Licht at CNN, who ended his entire original programming division with Wiedenfels' help. They'll insist they've seen no drop-off in top-tier talent wanting to work for them. We have healthy relationships with talent, Wiedenfels insisted at a conference in September, and we're offering one of the best platforms for anyone in the creative space. When he says we're offering a great platform, he's saying things like what they do with Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves can't just go anywhere and make a film for theatrical release and at the same time do a TV show, which he's doing Batman and he's doing The Penguin. The Penguin is for HBO Max. Warner Bros. Discovery clearly didn't anticipate the Batgirl backlash, and Wiedenfels didn't seem to particularly care if its talent partners were pissed, dismissing the outrage as a media creation. Quote, "I don't think it's unusual," he said in the write-offs in September, "we're a creative industry, and one of the elements of creativity is that there's judgment and views on what the potential of what a certain piece of intellectual property might be." Which the author here says, okay, fine, but again, those judgments are usually made before the IP is turned into a movie. That's true. And the judgments usually don't include a nuclear option of wiping out the movie as if it never existed. That was only the beginning, of course. The most recent SEC filing this month, the ad market is weakening, and Gunnar's cash flow guidance has declined. Revealed the write-offs could total up to $3.5 billion, with HBO killing its sex dramedy Minx during production of its second season and scrapping another show, The Nevers. No, these aren't highly watched series, and Zaz has said he wants to cut out fat so he can focus on the stuff that does move the needle. If you were in charge of Warner Bros. Discovery, why would you not cancel things that weren't successful? You have to move on and try new things. The other thing is the talent that actually produce these things and make these decisions to move forward on content, they have to be held accountable. Why would you want like these executives supporting content that doesn't make money and then not having to face consequences of some sort? Reduced bonuses, maybe fire and replace someone if their shows don't make sense. People throughout the company have to see the effect of things that they do. So if something's successful, we want more of that. If something's not successful, if there's no one to blame, it's fine, but let's stop making mistakes again and again and produce things that make sense. The tax code that allows Warner Bros. Discovery to make these aggressive cuts of finished content is only around for the first year since they did the merger. So they're going to be as aggressive as possible and get all that out of the way until that year of cuts is up. And they need everyone in the company to be thinking about what makes sense for the company, what's profitable or not. Let me know what you think of all this, though, in the comments below. I really appreciate your comments. Do you think that Warner Bros. Discovery should be cutting content if it's not profitable, or should they just hang on to it? A lot of people do think they should hang on to it. There are things that are being removed from HBO Max all the time. Things get removed from Netflix as well, but what do you think of that? Let me know in the comments below. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.